everyone, it's Xander and welcome back to WrestleLuigi. Today we're doing something a little new for me on this channel. I'm going to be looking at your pro wrestling hot takes. Now, over on LS11 Universe and here on the community tab for WrestleLuigi, I put out the call to all of you that I wanted your hot takes for the world of pro wrestling, and a lot of you sent in some really hot takes. So, we're going to take a look at those starting over on the LS11 Universe channel. And hey, if you want to potentially be featured in the next Hot Takes video, be sure to click that subscribe, keep an eye on the community tab, and look out because if this video does well, I'm going to keep doing these every week or so as we are now trying to get back to regular uploads here on WrestleLuigi. The TNA retrospective where I watch every episode of TNA from start to finish starts later this week. So up first over on the LS11 Universe side of things, at Soars Gaming 11 says, Santino Marella should have won the World Heavyweight Championship back in Elimination Chamber 2012 and should have faced Sheamus for the title, which would have been a better match than Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus in under 18 seconds. That's starting off really strong. That is a really hot take there from Soars. I know him as SG in the LS11 Discord, which you can also join in the links down below. Now, do I think that Santino would have been the better choice to lose in 18 seconds? Possibly. Now, there is kind of a double-edged sword with that, because Daniel Bryan losing in 18 seconds is a big part of what rallied the fans behind him and created what became the Yes Movement and led to the fans revolting against WWE's system of handpicked guys and got us to the main event of WrestleMania 30. So on one hand, I can kind of see where the idea of Santino was so hot, so over in that Elimination Chamber match would come from. The idea that Santino could have won it in the end, could have been the one to be the World Heavyweight Champion, and him losing to Sheamus in 18 seconds would have done less damage to Santino than it did to Daniel Bryan. But I'm going to say in hindsight, with the fact that it is what ultimately led to the rise of Daniel Bryan in 2013 to 2014, that probably it is for the best that Daniel Bryan did walk into WrestleMania with the World Heavyweight Championship. And there were a lot of other factors, obviously, that led to the rise of the Yes Movement, and that just being the incredible popularity of Daniel Bryan with things like Team Hell No and everything else that happened along the way, and fans just ultimately wanting to see him get a big singles opportunity. But the core of it can be traced back to the anger, the backlash that came from him losing to Sheamus over and over in 2012. That's an incredible hot take, though. That is a really, really strong start to all of this. So let's keep them coming. Let's take a look at one on WrestleLuigi now. We're going to go back and forth here with these. At Super Roman Reigns Nick 7203 says Roman Reigns' title reign was starting to get very stale following WrestleMania 38. I don't know if this is the hottest take in the world. I do agree. I've been a very vocal member of the wrestling fan base that says Roman's title reign needed to end when it did, and arguably could have ended a year earlier and been just fine. That last year, 2023 into early 2024, felt like the most unnecessary padding to Roman's record possible. I mean, in that time from, the time he beat Cody at Mania 39 through Mania 40, where he did lose it to Cody, he defended the title, what, three times? Three times? Yeah. He defended against, Jey Uso at SummerSlam, LA Knight in Saudi, and then the Fatal 4-Way at the Royal Rumble. And along the way, he had a bunch of tag matches, I guess, but the only thing we really got out of Roman's reign going on for an additional year, all the way from WrestleMania 39 to WrestleMania 40, the only thing we really got out of all of that was a random Cody and Jey title run with the tag titles. I guess you could say Jey breaking out as a single star, but at the same time, you could also argue that that all could have happened even with Roman not having the belt. You could have done tribal combat at SummerSlam just for the Ulafala, because the WWE Championship did become such an unnecessary accessory to the Roman and Jey feud, and for so long it was just a hindrance. And so Nick says WrestleMania 38, which is where they had the most stupendous main event in WrestleMania history of Roman and Brock in the winner-take-all match. And looking at the substance that came from there, I'm going to disagree. I am going to say 39 is where I think I started to get kind of done with Roman being champion and just done with the formulaic bloodline interference and all of that. 38, the match with Brock was, it was awful. But 2022, we still had a pretty decent year of Roman, at least in my opinion. Going from WrestleMania, we had the stuff with Drew, which was really cool. That was a lot of fun. Obviously, I feel the way I do about Matt Riddle. And for those that don't know, I cannot stand the guy. But that feud in the time with the circumstances around it before everything else happened, where Matt Riddle made an ass of himself and just ruined himself in the eyes of myself and many other wrestling fans, it was a really fun feud. You had War Games with the Brawling Brutes, Drew and Kevin Owens, which was really cool. You had the I don't give a damn what the Tribal Chief says segment with Jay. You had the Sami Zayn turn. I think Sami Zayn's exit from the Bloodline story and then Cody losing is ultimately what kind of drained me from it all. It was like the key player that made me interested in the story was gone. So I half agree with you on that one, Nick. I do think Roman's reign did start to get very boring, very stale towards the end. The shelf life was definitely very close to expiration, if not already past expiration. And the people who thought he should have won and kept holding the title to beat Bruno's record, I, I for the life of me can never understand your logistics of thinking that that would have ever been a good idea, because in that case we would have still had Roman as champion for another 6 years. All right, that's a really good hot take though. I definitely agree with part of it, but all right, back over to the LS11 Universe channel. At Zach Rushing 8198, one of the stream regulars, says Roman Reigns should have been the one that ended the streak in 2017. The Undertaker should have been undefeated at WrestleMania until 2017. I have heard this hot take before. I've heard a lot of people say this. In fact, I think I've even heard, don't quote me on this, I think I've heard even Edge say this before, that Roman should have been the one to beat the streak, that they should have had, someone new, someone hot, someone young beat the streak, but they just kind of gave it to Brock. And I think this is a hot take that this is going to be the first one that I just 100% agree with. Most people, general consensus is that Brock should not have been the one to break the streak, that Brock didn't need it. Brock was already a made man, and that something like that could have gone to a younger guy like a Roman, which I think, if you turned Roman heel off the back of that, done straight into the Tribal Chief run with Paul Heyman, right after that, I think there would have been money to make. And I think a more full-time Tribal Chief. Now, don't quote me on this, obviously, because of what happened in 2018 and all of that. You have to do some Who Remembers the Shield stuff in there. Tribal Chief Roman from 2017 beating the streak maybe could have held the world title for a lot longer. Of course, not accounting for what happened in 2018, with the leukemia and everything there. But I do 100% agree with that. Roman being the one to break the streak would have made a lot more sense. Like I've said, Brock didn't really need it. But that's a really good hot take there, Zach. I 100% agree with you. Even if it wasn't Roman, I feel like the best version of that hot take is anyone but Brock could have beaten the streak and it would have been better. I feel a certain way about Brock Lesnar, obviously, and that's definitely not hiding that fact. But let's hop back over to a very Roman Reigns heavy day here on the hot takes, as Flatliner7268, a Discord regular, says Roman Reigns should have never turned heel. Oh, whoa. Okay. Lot to unpack with that one. Oh man. I mean, that's probably gonna be the first one I just straight up disagree with, and that's fine. I wish I'd gotten a little more substance here as to why Flatliner doesn't think Roman should have ever turned heel. I'm really interested in knowing why, and maybe I'll try and get Flatliner to give me some more substance to that in the Discord, and maybe I'll even make a whole video about it at some point. Should Roman Reigns have turned heel? Greatest wrestling hypotheticals. I've got a few of those I want to talk about. So yeah, we might have to make a whole video on that one at some point. Should Roman have turned heel? I mean, I ultimately say yes. The big dog was stale. People were booing him. They were getting tired of seeing him. I mean, I know I, for one, I didn't hate him. I never really had an era where I hated Roman Reigns. There were points in which I was like, I'm a little sick of Roman. Someone else, please. And was perfectly fine seeing him, drop down the card a little. His IC title run in 2018, 2017 into 2018 was a nice little break there. The US title run in 2016 is kind of weird because he was still just a main eventer, and he just had an accessory that was a punishment for failing the wellness policy, whatever all that was about. But ultimately, I think I got to disagree here. The Tribal Chief stuff, it's given us some of the greatest segments in the last, 2 decades of WWE with, everything with Tribal Combat, Tribal Court, the stuff with Cody going into WrestleMania. It gave us the final boss. I don't know. I got to strongly disagree on that one. I don't see a world where Tribal Chief Roman doesn't happen. being as successful for the company as they are now. But that's a really hot take. That's a really interesting one to think about. We're gonna move over one more time. Final one over on LS11 Universe, which is from at Jeremy Burt 6864, who says Jade Cargill's overrated. No disrespect to her as a person, but I don't see the appeal. Okay, kind of a general one on that one. A very generalized kind of hot take there. Just one of those. I don't really see the appeal of this wrestler. I have that with a few wrestlers myself. Jade Cargill. I see the potential. I do, and I definitely understand where the idea of not seeing the hype comes from. I think that, being on the bigger stage with WWE, and I think them starting her own main roster, has definitely showcased some of her weaknesses. Ray and I talk about this all the time, off camera and on stream, that the big issue with the homegrown AEW stars is they learn to work one style of match, and that's it. They don't have any variety. Wardlow, for example, has learned to work squash matches, and that's about it. Jade Cargill learned to work squash matches, that's about it. Hook has learned one style of match, that's about it. So on and so forth. And with Jade, she's got the look of a star, she's got the entrance of a star. The in-ring stuff definitely needs some more polish. I feel like she could have done with starting in NXT. I feel like her starting in NXT, being just this big bully powerhouse there, maybe could have done more for her. Maybe starting her there would have done more in the end. Maybe would have made her, slicked her out a little bit more, cleaned up the style a little bit more in there. I think there's a lot more polish that can be had. I think maybe one day we could be there with her being a top-level competitor, but that's I think why she's in this tag team with Bianca Belair, is to hide the weaknesses and emphasize the strengths. So I get where you're coming from. I definitely understand. I definitely see your point on that one. I still really want to see her succeed. I really hope that she will, get better and better in the ring. Obviously, there's like the moments where she'll have the slight slip ups, but everyone botches at some point. Even Bret Hart has botches in his had botches in his greatest matches. Bryan Danielson, who in my opinion is one of the greatest of all time, has botches in his matches sometimes. It's a thing of life. It happens in wrestling, but I definitely see your point there with Jade. So, all right, on to the final hot take. This is the longest one we have. It is over on WrestleLuigi. It is the final one. It is from Joe Hendry Y6H. Okay, sorry, I had to look around and just make sure that if I said his name.
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry.
I got that under control. From Joe Hendry Y6H, he says, the Judgment Day story has lost tons of steam since SummerSlam and has failed to follow up on the hype surrounding them after their breakup. It's mostly just been a lot of brawls that include Damian and Rhea owning all of them until the numbers game overwhelms them. Not to mention, it's hard to take any of them seriously. Finn has been mostly demoted to the tag division, JD and Carlito are mid-carders at best and don't contribute much to the team. I will say the Liv and Dom stuff is decent, but that's all the group has going for them nowadays. So this is a really good hot take. Now, I do the live watch-alongs to Raw, NXT, SmackDown, and even TNA every week here on the channel. I'll be live tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Raw, same with tomorrow for NXT, so on and so forth. And I vent my frustrations about this all the time, because Finn Balor is one of my favorites. I love him. Dom and Liv has reinvested me in both of them. I could not have cared less about Liv Morgan 6 months ago. And then she does all this with Dom in these last, 3-4-ish months since WrestleMania. And it has completely reinvested me in her, made me interested in seeing her and seeing what she does. I'm all in on her as champion right now. In fact, wouldn't be mad if she somehow cheated her way to keeping the belt against Rhea at Bad Blood and we kept this going for another month or so. Because I really like what she and Dom do with that title together. But yeah, no, I 100% agree. I hate that every week Judgment Day get beat up 5-on-2 by any combination of people. They have lost, 2-3 different non-title matches for the tag titles? Once against Sammy and Jay, once against Jay and Priest, and then the New Day, they only had the win last week because of New Day's story happening, and could New Day be breaking up tonight on Raw? Who freaking knows at this point? But yeah, no, it bothers me. Every single week, they're getting beat the hell up 5-on-2. And yes, Rhea and Priest, they're big, they're dominant. I love them both. You've heard the jokes that I make about Rhea all the time. But however, There's such a thing as booking a little too strong, and Judgment Day getting constantly beat up is the opposite of that. They're being booked way too weak, so I have no reason to believe that Finn or Liv is winning at Bad Blood next weekend. Those are some really good hot takes, by the way. I really enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun with that. I'm definitely going to try and make this at least a weekly thing on the channel. I got more stuff coming to Wrestle Luigi here in the next few weeks. The big TNA retrospective starts this week as well. I've already done my first watch along for the very first TNA pay-per-view event from June 2002. I am working on editing that down to highlights a little bit at a time. You know, it's 2 hours of footage. I gotta find the key things, but look forward to that. I'm gonna maybe start trying to do like mini reviews of the shows I watch, you know, 5-10 minute reviews that just get thrown up here on the YouTube right after Raw, TNA, NXT, and SmackDown go off the air. I've got some other videos I want to work on, maybe some rebooking stuff, maybe some fantasy booking stuff. I've got a big conspiracy theory wrestling video I want to talk about soon. It is my biggest wrestling conspiracy. Ray and I talk about it all the time. And I will give you guys a little tease of that. And it's essentially going to be, my conspiracy theory is, if Vince McMahon had retired 5 years earlier in 2017, AEW would not exist. That being said, I'm going to leave you with bated breath for that one. I will see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to click the like and subscribe. I've been Xander. That was Wrestle Luigi. And I will see you tonight for the Raw Watch Along.